Hi y'all, welcome back to my shop. Today we're going to turn a garlic keeper, which is just a little functional box you use in your kitchen to store garlic in. I'm not much of a cook, I don't use fresh garlic, but my son's a foodie and I think he'll appreciate it. So we're going to use 2 blocks of wood. We're going to start off with we're going to have a 4x4 inch square. This happens to be maple. You could use most anything. Make it at least an inch thick. The top, it's going to be the top of the box. I happen to use a piece of walnut. Any type of contrasting wood I think will look nice. This is about 3 1/4 square by about 4 inches long. Give us room to chuck it up. So before we get started, put a little quick maintenance on my spindle. Clean out the Morse taper. Clean out the Morse taper here with this 20 gauge bore brush. Always a good idea. Do that periodically. Now we're going to use the little step center. Live center. It came with my Firematic. I've already marked this, the centers. We're going to go ahead and put this on here and rough it round and put a tenon on it. I've already got my smaller tool rest. Always swing it, make sure it's not going to hit anything. Use the spindle roughing gouge, a little higher speed. Raise that up just a little bit, it's a little low. Check it again, it's good. Alright, now let's put a tenon on it, see which end we think will be the top, which end will be the base. This is going to be the top. It's got a little bit of a pitch pocket here, or a little bit of a piece of the pith, so that's going to be turned away if I make this the top. So we're going to again lay this down on the live center to kind of mark where we're going to take the tenon down to. I use my 3/8 inch parting tool. Put a tenon on it. And we're done. Go ahead and put the 50mm chuck on there. This is a Technic tool chuck, so it does not have a dovetail for gripping a tenon. It has a little teeth that bites into it, so you do a parallel tenon. Clamp it down, rotate it, clamp it down. Check one more time. It's still turning easily with one hand. Okay. First thing we're going to do is true this up. Use a spindle gouge for that. Okay, before we start hollowing, let's go ahead and take this live center out. Don't want to get Turner's elbow. I want to go ahead and put a little divot in here, make it a little easier for a depth drill to find its center. That's good. Use our center hand drill, mark the depth, and I think the top of the box, inside of the box, is going to be right about there. Place myself here. Certainly drilling a center hole or depth hole is not necessary, it's just my process, and the normal disclaimer, this is the way I do it. It's not the only way, may not be the best way, but it works for me. Alright, now we're going to haul this out, first starting with a spindle gouge, and I'm going to start off with a half-inch spindle gouge. Move that down, give them a little clearance here. Start in. We're going to cut from the center out so we can slice the fibers, pointing at approximately, I'd say 10 o'clock into the hole, and then we just bracing it on the tool rest to sweep it around. You see it slice the walls down to maybe 3/8 of an inch, a little 1/4 inch. We'll clean it up later. Ooh, there's the streamer. It's almost sharp, it'll almost cut. This looks like it's sharp. As I'm reaching further over the tool rest, I can feel a little more chatter and a little more tool bounce. Closing the flute a little bit more, so we take some sweeping, cleaning cuts. I'm at the bottom. Want to shape that a little bit more round, and I think to do that shaping we're going to use a scraper. Move the tailstock, headstock back just a little bit so I have room without having to bother to take off my tailstock. And we want to cut on center, so we will readjust the tool rest, eyeball it. I've got a negative rake on this, and we're just going to come in here and we're just going to sweep a nice round, smooth the walls a little bit. Feels pretty smooth, got a little bit of a ripple there I think I want to work on. Take out a little bit on those walls. Okay, that looks good. We'll sand it up, do a little sanding on it, and then we'll reverse chuck it. Just want to mention, I like turning walnut, but walnut is a sensitizer, which means it can continue to build and affect your respiratory system with other woods, so you want to be alert to that and just use some caution. So that's looking good. Okay, let's transfer the inside depth to the outside. I'm just going to eyeball that and mark it. I'm going to mark using a parting tool. I'm going to, that's the actual bottom, so we want to come back here, leave a little bit of room at the top. Mark using a parting tool. I'm going to, that's the actual bottom, so we want to come back here, leave a little bit of room at the top. Always cut away any sharp edges. Before I get that reduced area too small, I'm going to go ahead and shape this. And go back to our 1/2-inch spindle gouge. Alright, better see how the walls are doing there. A lot of thickness through here, so I'm going to take that down some. Now, before we go too much further reducing this, I think I want to put some texture on here. So we're going to go ahead and sand this off the lathe, and then we're going to come back and put a little texture band on there while we still got some mass. Okay, we've sanded this off the lathe. You want to get a final sanding before you texture. Maybe 1/4 inch is going to be exposed in the recess of the bottom, so I want to come back a little bit for our decoration, and we'll put a band on it. I want to go ahead and mark where the boundaries of that band will be, and then maybe, of course, we'll see how this works out. We'll back off just a little bit using the Sorby spiraling and texturing system with the smaller spiraling wheel. Come in here and head in the direction of the lower end, so we're going to go from left to right. We're going to turn the speed down to about 500, 400, 700, something like that. Looks good. Anchor bevel cut, same thing. We engage the wheel and then lift the handle until it starts cutting. And I got a pretty nice spiral, just a little bit of tear out, not as clean. Sometimes you get a really clean spiral with walnut, sometimes you don't. I'm going to put a little groove on each end using my point tool. I'm going to go in there a little higher speed. And this acts as a negative rake. I'm just going to be right there at the boundary, just to give it a little bit of a pop. Now this texturing, although it adds to the visual effects, it's also functional, so when you grab the box you've got something to hold on to if your hands are wet, so that's part of the design. Alright, I'm going to take this down a little bit more and shape the nub in here and then part it off. I think what I'm going to go ahead and do is part this off, and then we'll finish up the the decoration on the top as we put it on the jam chuck for the base. This is a thin parting tool. Part off. Let me double check the thickness. I'll do a little more sanding and then I'll part this off. Okay, we've got the lid off. We're going to clean that up now by mounting it on a jam chuck that's a base. We're going to mount this thing initially using a screw chuck. We're going to drill a 1/2 inch and put a shim in there. And this is going to be the base that's going to be scooped out, so that's why there's nothing wrong with drilling a hole in it. Now, as I normally do with a screw chuck, I like to put a little paraffin on here. It makes it a little easier to put this on and off. We've got a 1/4 inch shim we're going to put on here. This protrudes about 3/4 inch, so this winds up doing just fine. And this is the initial mounting. In order that we can do a recess on the bottom that we're going to use, we'll go ahead and finish the bottom now, put that recess on it, do a little decoration, then use that chuck to hollow the other side. First thing I want to do is true this up. Let's see how close to center we are. Not too bad. We're going to true it up, then concave it ever so slightly so it'll rest flat, and then put our recess on there. Now I'm switching to a small 1/4 inch bowl gouge to do this, since this is no longer a spindle project here. This is a side grain, as if we're doing little bowls, so I want that extra little mass. Easily come in slowly, screw it up and slightly concave it.